Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Dev, and today we are going to talk about the mid-tier guide for our bots and where we put them on the scale from number 1 all the way down to tier 6. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up and kind of go over each individual bot and why I put them in their tiers. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than the beginner tier that I did. If you haven't seen that yet, go ahead and check it out now before you check this one out, card up in the top. And I recommend going to check that out first because I'm not going to cover every single bot you see. In this video, I'm only covering the rare and the epic bots. We did add a bot as one special bot, and that is Tether. He just came out right when I released that new tier guide. So we're going to put him in there and I'll talk about him, but as well as our rare and our epic bots, right where kind of you should be in the mid tier, and it helps you build your final tier. Now, my final tier list won't come out until I get just about every bot that I have to 15 or higher, and the AI is a little bit better because sometimes the AI helps the bot and make it more efficient and usable in the field. That is why I'm going to make my end tier guide towards the end. I don't really know exactly yet when that will be released, but go ahead and take a look at this mid-tier guide, and if you check in the description, you'll see the exact timestamps of each bot that I covered and where they sit and what tier. So I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the content, and sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay guys, let's go ahead and take a look at our tier 6 and tier 5 list. Now I'm going to quick show you the list before we go ahead and break it down and make it a little bit easier so you know who you're going to expect to see. And unfortunately, during this guide here, there is no bot that we're going to cover because all of these bots I covered in my last video. I just moved them down a tier, essentially putting them into a lower tier, which is just don't touch them anymore if you're in the mid game. Maybe you could move Chomp up one. He's okay whenever you max him with his full AI and he's level 15, but just keep him down below. He just does not, I don't feel like any of these bots you see here, Berry, Scatter, Slash, Bombi, Yankee, Chomp, Lobby, and Icicle, like these bots here are just not worth my time and investment. I guess I could move Scatter up one. I've been told that he's a little bit better whenever you maximize his AI, but I just feel like he's too squishy, he's slow, and whenever you're getting in the higher arena battles, it'll be really hard to use him. Bombi, I did have a little bit higher last time. I put him down lower as low as I could. He's not quite 6, but he is 5. Again, he's not really worth it because he only has a one-time special and then he's done for the whole match. So you have to replace him. That's why I don't like him that much, and he's continuously going to be down at the bottom. Now, this is something, if you have these bots in your primary team and you're in the mid-grade, let me know. Like, I want to know if you're using these bots still and you are in the 2,000 plus, maybe even 3,000 range. For your arena, because I don't see them being used. I just don't. Now we're gonna move into tier 4 in just a second and show you kind of like where they sit compared to everybody else. Go ahead and hit tier 4, as you can see here. We're gonna start on the end and work our way over, and as you can see, we are not gonna hit any of the common and specials except for Tether. So let's go ahead and start with this team. And then open up my Botopedia, Robopedia, I call it Botopedia for some reason. And let's go ahead and start with BigShot. Since he is the first one. Where is he? Ha! BigShot! I got it. Took me a second. Okay. So take a look at BigShot here, right? So he is my tier 4 type troop. Now I would have he's my tier 4 type bot. And I probably would put him in tier 3, but he's slow. He's got a really slow DPS rate. I don't think he's worth the investment. His materials are pretty decent to get a hold of, so that's not really what comes into play. His abilities with the Mega Blast in the Giga Blast. That's the reason why he's still only a tier 4, not a tier 3, which I think he probably could make the tier 3 list. I just don't feel like he's necessarily there for the tier 3 list. I think there are better bots out there for tier 3, so that's why he would be the tier 4. He is a sniper, so snipers are pretty good when it comes to just hitting out the massive damage, but the fact that his DPS is only 627, he's hitting from long range, he has to charge his attack, I don't like him. I just don't. And that's why I have him here. So let's move on to the next one. So I just really don't have much to talk about with BigShot. I used him a little bit, I just didn't like him. The next bot that we're going to talk about is Hornet. Now, I don't have Hornet unlocked, unfortunately, not yet. But I don't think he's really necessarily that good. Because from what I've seen, as people have upgraded him into the 15 range, he's only good if the troops are poisoned. And his damage attack isn't as good as Fork, which we'll cover in a few minutes. He is a epic type bot, so you're not going to see his blueprint quite easily. I think you have to get him through the recruits, but I just don't see necessarily a need to have him in your mid to end game team unless you have a lot of poison on the field. So maybe pair him with like a Froggy so he can poison the field, and then you can put Hornet there. I mean, I guess you could put Fork, Hornet, and Froggy together for the poison effect. Because that's really the only way that Hornet goes into play. If you check out his abilities, shoot the scene that poison the enemy, slowly draining their damage over time. Flies away, leaving a trail of poison, which does help with poisoning enemies, which is the damage over time. And stuns all enemy bots that are currently poisoned. So his special ability, which is the toxic shock, right? So he needs to have the bots constantly poisoned. So pairing him with Froggy, I probably could put him in a tier 3, but you would need Fork too. So you would need Froggy, Fork, and Hornet together in order to get the massive effect. I just don't think it's really necessary, and I think there are better bots out there to put on your team, and just leaving Hornet on your recruits team so that way they have that there. Now, that's pretty much it for Hornet. Like I said, I haven't had any experience with him. He might come up when I do my in-game tier. I don't see it unless you pair him with other poison type bots or using a skill that poisons the field right before he fires his special, but you have to coordinate that really well. Moving on. We're moving on. So those are the two epics. Actually, I forgot one. Nozzle. I'm going to go a little bit out of... Here's Nozzle. So I also don't have him unlocked either. I got to get his blueprint. And again, another bot that I don't think is necessarily that good. He's a good tank. All he does is pretty much shield himself. And he says he jets water at enemies, which causes them to fling back. He pulls in his shell. He just takes no damage. And he launches a giant wave that stuns enemies, which is about the only part that I like about his ability. It's a cooldown of 10 seconds. I'm sure in his AI build, it's going to have a reduce the cooldown of this and or have an effective like right off the bat. I don't like him. I think that there are better tanks. We're going to go over in tier 3 and 2 that are going to replace him. So he's good for a recruit team, but not for your primary team. I just don't see a need. I just don't feel like he's that worth the effort of putting more materials in him to get him in the higher grades and putting him on your primary team. If you have him, you can use him, but until you have Bullwark, which is my favorite, and he's up a little bit higher in the tiers, I don't think that you should really do a whole lot of investment in Nozzle. But if you want to, he's okay. His damage output isn't that great. He's extremely slow. He doesn't go very far, very fast. So I don't see a need on keeping him around for that long. Let's move on to the next spot as we go into our rare tier. And we're going to start with Frosty. Now, my Frosty I used kind of early on. They're really, really annoying to fight in the field. But I don't feel like they're beneficial to your team. Because your team needs to have a lot of damage and defense at the same time. So I don't think Frosty is great to have on your primary team. He's good to have on like a recruits team. and they're just really difficult to fight. But unless you have a good strategy with your team, I don't think he's worth it. And there's a bunch of other bots out there now that either can freeze them in place and stun them, and there are abilities that you can freeze your enemies. There's also walls, freeze walls. I don't see Frosty going any higher right now. He's in 4 right now. I don't see him in tier 3. As we go over tier 3, you'll see why. I don't see his usability. I just really don't. I mean, we can check out his abilities real quick. Frost Spray, you get Teleport, and then you've got the Cold Snap. His cooldown for this is 12 seconds. DPS at level 15 is 228, which is really crap. But the thing that Frosty is the best with is the fact that he freezes the enemy and slows them down. He does do a little bit of damage, but if you compare him next to another bot that does long distance or whatever, he's really good against like a brawler or a chaser to keep them frozen so that they can't attack and they're trying to get to you and they can't because obviously they're slowing down. That's the only real good reason to have him, but then you can also have special abilities in your bot pack to fire off that helps attack better. So I don't think he's any higher than a tier 4. And the last spot that we have in tier 4 that we didn't talk about last time because he wasn't released yet is here it is, Tether. Sorry, I guess my game maybe I don't think I've updated the new Botworld yet. That's probably why. But anyways, you see Tether here. He doesn't have the special yet, but he is my tier 4. Now I kind of debated putting him in tier 3 over 4, but after playing with him for a little while and trying to get used to him and getting into the spirit of using him more, he's not that good. He's good at freezing and locking in enemies because he does the hug and then he does the group hug, which are both really great, but they don't stun the enemy, so they're still attacking you. So for long range bots, facing the long range bots with him is not great. He does not do very well. You got the glance, you got the grasp, and the group hug. Now, the glance is nice because it can go through enemies. It's kind of like a long shot that goes through, like a laser, right? More laser. It's a long shot that goes through enemies. But then you've got like the 2 group hugs, which are the hug and then the group hug. Those only work against brawler and chaser type bots and evaders. Other than that, there's really no need to have him on your team. So putting him on your secondary team is probably a better idea. I don't see him being used in my primary team again. Maybe I'll do it for more testing, but not my cup of tea. But that's going to wrap up the tier 4 list. And let's take a look one more time at my tier 4 list. As you can see here, BigShot, Hornet, Frosty, Nozzle, Tether, Rocketeer, Slicer, Dunebug, and Brute. That is my tier 4 list. Let's move on and see the tier 3 list, because tier 3 I feel like is where most people's bots are currently and what they have available to them. So this is my tier 3 list. As you can see, I have Fork, KO, Pluggie, I have Berserker, Flamer, and Pupil. Now, I think Pupil was supposed to be moved over a little bit. Anyways, this is my tier 4 list. Tier 3. This is my tier 3 list. Now, I really like this list. Probably could move Berserker down, but I like Berserker because he's a really, really good tank, and he's good for a mid-team if you haven't unlocked Bullwark yet. He's a great substitute until you unlock Bullwark. But this is the team here. So let's go ahead and review each individual all the way up into, well, obviously we have covered Flamer, Bullwark. We're going to cover the rest of the rares and epics. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, let's go ahead and start with Fork. Now, Fork, so far, I haven't used him much, so I can't give you like the best estimate on how well he does. But so far, I like him. He's not too bad. I use him now on my main team to get some really good testing in to see how well he does. He's got a Poison Strike, which poisons the enemies, which will go well with Hornet. Smoke Cloud, which causes, obviously a big alley of smoke around you, and it goes off every 6 seconds, so it's kind of like a secondary ability, and it increases their dodge against the enemy bots that are around them. and Backstab, which is pretty cool. It teleports to a random distant bot and strikes them back by stunning them, which is kind of funny because it's like a backstab. It's literally what it is, which is kind of cool. Now I've used it. I like it. His damage per second is really solid. He's probably one of my better bots. He could go in tier 2 yet. I don't know yet. I still am getting used to him. He hasn't been super effective. I feel like his health is kind of low, or I haven't gotten his AI up enough in order to use more health. But I haven't had a chance. Yeah, he has no health increase. So we'll see how well he does. That's why he's in the tier 3 right now, because I haven't done a lot of testing with him. I just feel like he dies really fast whenever I have him against standard level 20 bots. But he is only level 18 versus 20, so I can kind of see the credit on the reason why he's not doing that well. But we'll have to, like I said, more testing. You'll see my next video that I'll do, and it'll cover all that. Now let's move on to KO. Now I used KO quite a little bit and got him to AI 3 before I moved on to other bots. I like him. KO isn't that bad. He's a good brawler, but his damage output isn't that great and his health isn't that great. So he dies fairly easily. He's not putting a whole lot of damage. I just don't see the need to have him. As you can see, it's 273 per 0.75 seconds. So he's not even putting a whole lot of damage on the target. That's why I didn't like him that much. But he does have like a speed burst, and then he's got the massive increase of damage this is by KO for the rest of the battle. I don't know, like, not that great, I guess. I'm not a huge fan. I just don't see his usability really in a mid to end game tier. I think over time I might change it, but I don't think so. Compared to the other tier 3 bots where I'm kind of like meh, not like, oh yeah, they're really good, you should totally have him on your team. Definitely wouldn't put him on your team as a primary. He's just not quite there. So with all that being said, let's move on to the next bot, because I really don't have much to say about KO except he's not quite there on the higher tiers. And the next bot we have is Pluggie. Now, Pluggie is actually pretty good. I probably could move him in tier 2, but he's in 3 right now because I haven't done a super lot of testing on him, but I do like him. He's pretty decent with his damage output, and his health is okay. But as you can see, even at level 15 or 12, his damage is 571. So you can tell already he's doing pretty good. He's got a good lightning attack, but it's 1.1 seconds, and it depends on the type of energy they have for the damage, for how many times he has to jump. The bolt of lightning has to jump. And his melee range is okay. And then obviously his mega attack, which, has a stun, but the stun isn't that great. Still does really good when you're trying to hit multiple bots at the same time. That's why I do like him, and I think he's really decent, but not great. He's kind of slow too. But I know with his AI, he's able to go a little bit faster, increase his range, electricity strike, and it starts to charge just the ones. I don't think he has a health increase. Oh yeah, there it is. I'd probably take the health increase. He's not that strong. He's kind of weak when it comes to health, which makes him very easy to be killed, and just the usability is just not there. Oh, look, my recruit's done. Oh, sweet. Free tokens. And that's pretty much it for Pluggie. He's okay. Not super great, but not bad. So he's pretty good to have on your team. Just if you had the other bots I'm going to list above this, you would put them on your team. Pupil? Okay. I like him. I've used him a little bit. He's not too bad. I think that overall, he's a good started player bot if you can get access to him. He is super kind of frustrating to fight with in the field, but remember, he shoots a laser, right? And the laser doesn't move. Well, I think it moves, actually, I think it moves a little bit, but it's very slow. And the straight pulse, or the straight laser. So in order to kill him and get out of his way, you have to use like a fan or something, which is what I use to move him when I'm fighting them. but I don't like him any higher than the 3. He feel like his damage is there, but he's just not in the usability list for me for anything higher than a 3. Maybe I could put him in a 2, but I just don't. You know, as you can see, the Ultra Beam here, it says, you know, 368 is the max and with 184 is the minimum. Cooldown is 10 seconds, but the charge time is 1 second. So as soon as, you know, he can fire it, it's and he shoots it. So I guess that's why I think he's better in the tier 3. He is very weak and he's easy to kill. He doesn't like shooting anything close to you, so he has to be kind of far away. So he's going to walk away. He's slow. So chasers and brawlers are going to catch, well, more chasers and evaders are going to catch up to him pretty quickly. So you're not really going to have it's going to be really hard to, you know, it's going to be really hard to survive with having a sniper Pupil in your battle team. But, I mean, that's why I'm just like, well, he's probably in a tier 3, not a tier 2. And, you know, that wraps up tier 3. Now, that's pretty much it. I covered all the bots here, except for the 2 other specials. But, again, it goes back to, these bots are pretty standard to have. I do think a lot of people still have these bots in the mid-tier or mid-game level, but not as many. I guess it depends on how many materials you have to upgrade your higher level bots that you'll see in the next 2 lists. But that's going to wrap it up for tier 3. Let's move on to tier 2. In my tier 2 list, as you can see here, I have a pretty decent amount of good, strong players. You know, we've got Chainer, Mort, Halo, which I really like Halo, Bullwark, and Beat. And I've already covered the other 2. Longshot, I moved down from tier 1 to tier 2 because I moved another bot up. But I still find them on my team, because you're going to see my team in a few minutes anyways. But this is pretty much where I would see pretty much every mid-game tiered player should have on their team. Or have any combination of these bots plus the 2 that I'm going to mention in a few minutes. These are the great ones because the fact that they're so diverse and they provide a lot of tank and strong attack DPS, and their abilities help them and help their other ally bots that they're fighting with, which will help your team succeed and win better matches. So let's go ahead and just kick off this tier. We're going to start with Chainer. As you can see, Chainer is my rare bot. I like him a lot. I've almost maxed his AI. Oh, I need to bring him back on my main team to max his AI. I really like Chainer a lot. I've used him in a lot of different methods, and actually he wasn't really on my team at first, and then I moved him off and then moved him back on and moved him off and put other bots in for testing. And I really, really like Chainer. He's a good tank. He brings everybody close. He's multi-chains a whole bunch of bots. Brings in one with this basic chain, 6-second cooldown. And this one has a 9.6-second cooldown. Ground Slam, which is, again, not very good. But if you have a lot of chasers and brawler bots, you put Chainer with him and he brings them all in. You can use any type of ability, like maybe like Virus or Fork or Froggy, and it poisons the battlefield, and that way it makes it a little bit easier for you to attack the enemies. That is why I like Chainer. He's a really good asset to your team if you have him. He's overall towards the mid to end game. You're going to see him in the higher tiers in just about every list because he's just that good. We're going to move on to the next bot, which is Mort. Now, I love Mort, and I used him so much in the early game. I was so excited to unlock him and use him. He's so great, long distance, and the amount of attack that he puts out and his abilities all mixed and twined are really good because he's slow, but the only thing is he's slow. His health is pretty decent too. And he's got the explosive shell. He's got the vortex shell, which pulls in the enemies when as soon as it shots, and a super shell that damages a large area of enemies. I use his super shell, which is super awesome and good to have because it's like as soon as it goes off, it puts this massive amount of damage out, and that's why I like him a lot. I mean, this is 2,500 damage, right? That's insane. It's like half of an enemy, and if you fire it off and it hits a small group, that's good for you because it's going to take them out most likely. And also the vortex brings them in together, so brings them closer. You fire that off, And now you can kill multiple enemies at one time just with one bot. That's why Mort is a tier 2. But you need to pair him with other bots to make sure that he doesn't die right away, and upgrade his AI so that it increases his health. Then we're going to talk about Halo. I love my Halo. He's on my primary team. He's super fun and cool to play with. I was really excited. I got access to him and have him now. I'm going to upgrade him to 21 and up to 25. He's super cool. I like him a lot. He's got that pop, which allows a weak range attack, which is, I get it, it's not very effective, but his shield bubble helps and has been improved according to the last update, so it fires faster and it's more accurate to where the bot is, not where it's going, which is still kind of mad. I think there's some tweaking left. And then it's got like maybe a tracker, that'd be cool. But then you've got the boost bubble, which also provides that additional attack whenever it goes off, and I like this. Now, this ability is good. I've used him on my main team for quite some time now. He does super good. I am super attached to him. He's one of my favorites to have. And as we move on to Halo, as you can see, I'm using Bullwark as well. Now, Bullwark is a tier 2 bot in my list. Another fantastic bot. If you can unlock him, go ahead and quick upgrade him to as high as you can and keep him on your main team. His health is crazy. If you can put him on the field and put him in front of and put him in like a little group bots and let him take all the damage while you use your chaser bots and your long range bots to take down the enemies around him, it's great. His ability is a fan shape ability that goes off and like shocks them all and stuns them. So you're stunning the bots around you, so that way you can, use your long shot or use a special ability, and that way it all kind of works together and you can control the enemy a little bit easier. I love Bullwark. I've really been attached to him. I like him so far. He's a really decent bot to have. If you can have him in the early game, you're going to see a big difference in your win streak and how you play. He's just that good. I was super excited to get him and use him overall. And now we're going to move on to the last bot that I haven't done a whole lot of testing on because he's still only 10. I know I have an upgrade I could probably put on him, but we're going to wait. But this is Beat. Beat is a great bot to have. He is a support bot, epic tier. He's a little bit harder to get. And his abilities really are kind of cool. This one here is a melee ability. And this one here is an Inspire, which does more damage. And the allies near him, it's in like a little area of effect. It does more damage. And he does a Sound Wave, which stuns the enemies. I like stuns because anything that you have like with a brawler type bot or a chaser bot or a long range bot, like putting him with Pupil in order to stun the enemies, and then Pupil fires off his mega shot. It's kind of good, right? But you got to time everything just right. So that's why not every combination is going to work. Not every skill is going to work, and it's not going to work with every team that you're facing and fighting. I think using Beat is more universal, and he can be used in a lot of different manners. So that's why I like to have Beat. I haven't done a whole lot of testing with him, so it's really hard for me to say for sure if I should keep him in the tier 2. But having 2 support bots in the tier 2, remember, they don't do damage. They support your primary team. So really having 1 support bot on your team is better than having 2. Because remember, they're only doing support to your bots that are doing the most damage. Or health, depending on like how you look at what each bot does. That's why I think having 1 support bot on your team at a time would probably be best. You can try 2. I'm going to try using Beat and using Halo and see how well that does. I don't think using Tether a whole lot is that great of an idea, but that's just my experience and understanding a little bit how the bots work. And honestly, that wraps it up for my tier 2. Because we already covered Longshot, Thump, and Froggy. So tier 2 is done. I didn't move anybody up into tier 1 except for 1 bot. And there is another bot still on my tier 1 list. Let's go ahead and finish out our tier 2 list. Here's my tier 2 list closeout. As we talked about it, I love this setup. And I use a lot of it on my primary team now. and it's worked really well for me. Let's go ahead and cover the tier 1 list. Now this is the best bots I feel like are in the game currently, and that is Virus and Ram. Now I've already covered Ram, and Fork is, I didn't even know Fork was behind me, but I already covered Ram. He's still one of the best bots I feel like in the game. He's just, his damage output and his health is there. He's quick. He's one of the best chasers. He is the best chaser in the game. I put Virus next to him. Now, a lot of people probably are going to contest with me on why I put Virus up there. I really have come close to Virus since I've unlocked him. He's been really great so far for me. He's his damage output is really decent. His health is really good. And his attack ability that goes off is pretty good, and he's kind of slow. But the best part about Virus is his special ability, and that is a hack, okay? The hack ability allows him to take control of an enemy and make him yours. And now if there's nobody left on the battlefield, the bot's just sitting there like, I can't attack you because I'm hacked. So I'm just going to sit there and you're going to do a whole bunch of damage to him and they're going to die. I like it. And also, he hacks the nearest enemy and then that enemy attacks their allies. So that's why I really like him. Super great. He's been so far fantastic on my team. I haven't upgraded him to 5 yet because obviously I'm still working on it. But he's got a disable. Now, the disable is okay, but it just immobilizes them. It doesn't actually cause them to stop firing. So I'm going to kind of meh on the disable right now because I feel like it's not quite there and there's some tweaking to be done. And then he's got the whack, which is just a basic melee damage. And like I said, I've really fallen in love with Virus. He's been there on my team since I've got him. So that's gonna wrap it up because I've already covered Ram and he's already there. I would put Longshot in tier 1. All of my top team could be in a tier 1 status, but I think that they're not quite there and there's other bots you could put there to compete for those spots. But that's my team. That's who I have in my tier list. So let's final out this full tier list for the mid-game tier 6 all the way down to 1. All right, so let's close out this list. As you can see here, this is the final list as we cover every single bot that is currently available as of October of 2021. This is my tier list. Now, a lot of this could be debated on where they are and where they sit, but this is really where I feel that these bots are sitting at in this current day because of the fact that I may have not had a whole lot of exposure to them, or I just chose not to use them and upgrade them. So it's really hard to say if I could use them in the field, but this is my team. I like this team so far. So far, it's pretty decent. I've used a good portion of these bots. Some of them I've only had a little bit of experience with, but overall, this is what I like. This is just right. And if you have anything in the 4 to 6 tier, you should probably think about changing and moving up to the tier 3 and tier 2 bots. If you don't have access to anything higher, it's okay. Don't panic. It's not bad. But if you see anything in the 3, 2, and 1, and you're just working in the 4 and 5 tier, go ahead and put them on your team. That way you can focus on them primarily and then not worry about the other ones later, because this is what you need. Up on the tier 1, 2, and 3. 4, meh. 5 and 6, get them off your list. And that's it. Those are all the bots. I'm going to do other lists and tiers as we go further on. And my next final tier will probably be in a few weeks because I need to do some more testing with these other bots and just to get a better feel, make sure the list isn't going to change, and look at your feedback and see. I would like to see the other tier list that other content creators and other people in the Botworld community are making. If you haven't checked out the Botworld Discord, go ahead and check it out and check in the description for the link to their official Discord where you can see in their forums that they have and their different lists of tiers for bots and helpful guides and stuff for every bot player out there. Just remember to respect those other people that are in those channels to make it a little bit easier, friendly for everybody else. But overall, this is my mid-game bot tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment on what you think of this tier list and what bots you would put in different tiers if you took my tier list and made it your own. But that's it for me, guys. So for now, just keep it real.